The 7 major endocrine glands produce a number of hormones. At the end of this slideshow, you should be able to identify the hormones that are produced by specific endocrine glands and the effects of these hormones on body functions and physiology. The pituitary gland is the most prolific producer of hormones in the human body. This gland produces 7 hormones by itself. It also secretes 2 hormones that are formed in the hypothalamus. So 9 hormones are secreted from this one endocrine gland. The anterior pituitary gland is also called the adenohypophysis. This slide provides a list of the 7 hormones produced and secreted from the anterior pituitary. Please note that many of these hormones are referred to by their abbreviation rather than their full name. The functions of the hormones produced by the anterior pituitary are provided on this slide and the next slide. The posterior portion of the pituitary gland is also called the neurohypophysis. This is because the posterior portion of the pituitary gland is composed of nervous tissue that is attached to the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain that regulates many of our physiological processes. Refer back to the slideshow about the brain for a refresher on the hypothalamus. The 2 hormones secreted from the posterior pituitary gland are antidiuretic hormone and oxytocin. The activity of these hormones is presented on this slide. The next set of hormones that we will cover are those produced by the thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. The thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland located inferior to the larynx, while the parathyroid glands are found on the posterior surface of the thyroid glands. There are 3 hormones produced by the thyroid gland. 2 of these hormones, thyroxine and triiodothyronine, are involved in increasing our metabolic rate. Calcitonin is a thyroid gland hormone which regulates calcium levels. The only hormone produced by the parathyroid gland is parathyroid hormone, or PTH. This hormone is vital in raising blood calcium levels. Parathyroid hormone works in opposition to calcitonin, which enables calcium blood levels to be maintained within their normal limits. The adrenal gland sits on top of the kidneys. The adrenal gland is composed of an outer layer, which is called the adrenal cortex, and an inner layer, which is called the adrenal medulla. It is important to know the parts of the adrenal gland because the adrenal cortex produces a distinct set of hormones from those of the adrenal medulla. The adrenal cortex produces 3 hormones, but we will only discuss 2 of them. Aldosterone is an important hormone that is involved in maintaining the homeostatic balance between sodium and potassium ions. Aldosterone works on structures in the kidney to promote the uptake of sodium and the secretion of potassium. The second adrenal cortex hormone that I will mention is cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone produced in response to stress. Cortisol increases blood sugar levels, but it also suppresses the activity of the immune system. Suppressing the immune system saves glucose, which can be used for other physiological activities associated with the stress response. The middle of the adrenal gland, called the adrenal medulla, is the site of epinephrine and norepinephrine production. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are released in response to stress. These 2 hormones are responsible for the physiological changes that occur when we activate our fight or flight response. Increased heart rate, increased respirations per minute, increased blood pressure. The next endocrine organ that we will cover is the pancreas. The pancreas is a dual function organ. It is important in the production of hormones, but it also plays an important role in the digestive process. In regards to the pancreas and its endocrine functions, the pancreas produces two important hormones, insulin and glucagon. These hormones are produced in areas of the pancreas called pancreatic islets. The two hormones produced by the pancreatic islets are glucagon and insulin. Both of these hormones are involved in maintaining blood sugar levels within their homeostatic ranges. The activity of each hormone on different organ systems is shown on this slide. Note that the two hormones work very well together to maintain blood glucose levels within its normal limits. The reproductive system of the female contains ovaries which produce an ovum or an egg. The ovaries also produce estrogen, the female sexual hormone. The effects of estrogen are shown in this slide. We will discuss estrogen's other effects on the reproductive system when we review reproduction. The male reproductive system contains testes, which produce spermatozoa, and the male sex hormone testosterone. The effects of testosterone are presented in this slide and will be reviewed again when we review the male reproductive system. While the endocrine system is composed of a number of major glands, other organs can also produce hormones. These hormones tend to have a single function tied to the activity of the organ that produces it. Some of these organ-specific hormones are shown on this slide. This completes our review of the hormones produced by the major endocrine organs. Please be sure to review the hormones, their activities, and the glands or organs that produce these chemical messengers. While the endocrine system is composed of a number of major glands, other organs can also produce hormones. These hormones tend to have a single function tied to the activity of the organ that produces it. Some of these organ-specific hormones are shown on this slide. This completes our review of the hormones produced by the major endocrine organs. Please be sure to review the hormones, their activities, and the glands or organs that produce these chemical messengers.